Welcome to Dare, the show for startup leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs who dare to shape the future. Dare is brought to you by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, OEN, and Darwaft, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. The Dare Show is excited to welcome Ray Jang, the founder and CEO of Atria, the world's first AI creative marketing strategist platform. I think he's going to tell us what that means. But overall, he seems to be reshaping what it means to be creative in an AI powered world. Ray has a background at TikTok. He was formerly a scout for Kleiner Perkins, and he has a really real mission driven approach. So, welcome to the show, Ray.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and looks like there was a bit of a mouthful in terms of the platform. Yeah, just want to clarify and position ourselves here. So
Sure.
we're building and we've built the most powerful ad workflow automation platform. And yeah, what we do is we ingest your data and enrich it with insights and give you an algorithm to go and figure out what to do next, right? And through that, we also generate the creatives so that you have a much faster experimental and learning loop, which is the key to success in today's world of marketing.
Right. So the world of like SEO and having everything kind of fed to you on a platter isn't there anymore, right? I mean, advertising has changed. Can you tell us about how it's changed?
Yeah, so I think first of all, SEO is in a different arena, right?
Okay.
SEO relates more to organic search, and
Mhm.
that world is going through some changes. So specifically, even though Google reported more revenue from their search and search volume has increased last quarter, what we've seen, for example, recently with the Monday.com earnings call is that the traffic sometimes is dropping significantly for some companies because more people are going directly into GPT to look for their results, right?
Mhm.
I think the shift that we're seeing as it relates to search is that there's two things that are happening. One is people are growing more sort of behaviors and relationships with their GPT or Gemini and whatever. So that's one is that they are doing more of those queries outside of Google. And then another thing related to that is Google itself has AI mode, right? So
Mhm.
it's no longer as important to dive in to each of the blue links, right, to get the answer that you want. As it relates to Atria specifically, we're more playing in the ad creative world,
Got
where
it.
typically what we're looking at is, hey, it used to take 2 to 6 weeks to get a creative campaign going on Meta, TikTok, YouTube, right, for image and video. It used to be very time consuming, not only to come up with the ideas, but to go and make it happen. And so
Mhm.
what we're doing is condensing everything to a very short cycle where with the power of your data and your insights, we're able to deliver the right kind of content based on who your target audience is, what's the messaging that you should go after. And our customers so far have seen a 40% performance uplift and a 25% reduction in CAC, right? And so,
Wow, those are great numbers.
yeah.
So you actually came out of a background being an angel investor, being a scout and a fellow at Kleiner Perkins. And so that experience in helping companies get funded and understand their place in kind of the funding ecosystem, how did that contribute to your success here at Atria?
Oh, I wish it was that linear of a of a line. I wish it was that simple. Well, I think over the course and by having the privilege to scout for such a great firm like Kleiner, I had visibility in terms of how founders were coming up with ideas and packaging it so that it was digestible for investors. Along the way, I got to meet some very visionary founders, right? I think the reality is when you start your own company, it's like the classic thing where an investor does not make a good founder, right? At
Mm,
the end of the day, you need to really originate a problem space that feels true to you. And you need to come up with a solution that is differentiating enough in order to be able to crack a category. And for us, we had a long journey in. So for about 18 months, we were working on a completely different idea where we were trying to help gaming companies acquire gamers through a customer acquisition platform that we were building. And we got stuck. We were just not going
mm.
fast enough. We were running out of money and we were 3 months away from shutting down the business.
Wow.
And it was in that sort of moment where I had to bite the reality pill, where
Mhm.
hey, this was either it was a clear fork in the road where it's like, what do we do? Do we shut the company down? It's so tiring at this point, given that we haven't made much progress, or do we make a bet on ourselves? And I think in that moment and realization, I decided to go hike a mountain. And at this point, I was in Singapore. I went to Mount Kinabalu, which is about 4,000 meters, so one of the tallest, if not the tallest mountain in Southeast Asia. And it was really through the pain and struggle going up the mountain that I realized it was time to let go of the idea that I was working on. And
Mm.
it was while summiting it that I realized, hey, actually, in order to summit higher peaks, the first step you have to do is go down, right? So while going down, I realized, oh, okay, this first failure has taught me so much. Why not just solve the growth problem that we were facing, right? So
Mm.
why not really build the growth machine that our team can rely on because we weren't growing fast enough and the solutions out there weren't meaningful. The two options we had at the time was to spend more money without knowing whether or not it would return on meta ads or work with an agency, which is
Mm.
totally fine. But you know how it is. If you're like, if you don't have much money in your bank, even working with an agency is not a guaranteed solution. So that's how the pivot happened into Atria. And we're lucky that because we're solving for our own problem, we always dog food the solution, right? And we try it internally before we ship it out. And since then, the rest has been history. We've grown extremely fast the last 18 months. We've been profitable for the last year. And
Congratulations.
week that we launched the product, we were already revenue generating. So
Wow.
I think you can only connect the dots looking, back. And I think, that arduous journey to that point is, has created a huge chip on our shoulders, like me and the core team. And that's ended up with a couple of chips in our pocket.
Right, right. Well, what's great is you scratched your own itch. You had a problem and you solved it for yourself, and you found that there was a large market out there that also had that same problem, right?
Yeah.
So, did you take that leap with any market research, or did you just have a gut instinct of like, we've been struggling with this? I'm sure other people are struggling with it.
So, interestingly enough, when I had the intuition to do this, I started researching for conferences online because, I used to be a product manager at TikTok.
Yeah.
And, I always knew you had to speak to as many people on the ground to really have clarity in terms of what problem to solve for. And so, interestingly enough, there was Shop Talk happening in Barcelona, like
Hmm.
the very next day. And I had no idea it just had appeared. And I had this kind of like moment where I was like, hey, let me just book the one-way ticket right now on the spot
Wow. One-way ticket to Barcelona. Boom.
from Singapore. And
Uh-huh.
so it's not even like it was like a short flight, it was like all the way from Singapore to Barcelona.
Yeah. How long is that flight? Like 17 hours or something?
Yeah, it was a yeah, and we were poor, so it was like there was a layover, I think somewhere in the Middle East, I believe Dubai, right? So I think all in all, it was like a 18 to 22 hour trip, right? So landed there completely jet lagged, but the moment I hit the hotel, I went straight to the conference and spoke to more than 200 to 300 people, right? Just walking
Wow.
them.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I would be that annoying guy at the conference looking at everyone's name badge, right? Being like,
Uh-huh.
okay, and then just like opening and introing this, hey, I'm working on this thing. I really, I used to look at TikTok. These are some things that we're thinking about. Of course, 90% of the time I was rejected. So
Mhm.
every day, I would come back to the hotel at 6 p.m. and I was dead exhausted. I'd be able to fall asleep at 6, right?
Yeah.
The moment I hit the hotel. And then interestingly enough, right after that, there was another conference happening in New York. So I booked another one-way ticket.
Wow. You're just flying around the world on this.
Catch me if you can, so to speak, right? Like a movie. So I think, yeah, that was kind of like the gut instinct. And
Uh-huh.
luckily, along the way, we met some very helpful people who were interested in our journey and our story and wanted to help. So I ended up collecting a really targeted and high quality group of marketers to
Mm.
suggest and collaborate and co-develop the product with us. And so in return of their time, we provided the software for free for them for a year. And yeah, it turned out to be a very fruitful partnership.
Wow, that's really bold though, to fly around the world to figure out if there's customers there who need your product.
I think in the string of things that I've had to do in my life, I don't think it's quite up there. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
something about having hiked a very difficult trek just to
Mhm.
fire made me feel like very light and everything was just possible.
Yeah. Well, when you started to TikTok back in 2020, LLMs were technically possible. The Transformer paper had been out there, people had been working on it, but it wasn't broadly disseminated. That really started happening in 2021. So during the course of your career, from TikTok to ByteDance to, I guess, after that, you went to Kleiner Perkins. And then,
Just to be specific, I was scouting for Kleiner on the side, but I was not
okay.
KP yet.
Oh, got it. Well, I guess my point being that your career prior to this company kind of paralleled the rise of AI. And so you now have an AI powered platform at Atria. So, how did you come to embrace AI and how are you using AI specifically to help your customers?
Yeah, first of all, I went to San Francisco after that New York trip, and
Hmm.
then people were saying, "Hey, it feels like 1994 again," right? Where
Yeah,
the internet just got started. So I think I kind of, during my 20s, had a lot of resentment that I felt like I had missed the big, opportunity.
you
By
missed
that
the
point,
internet boom.
like I think by the time I had graduated college, there was a lot of nice to have software that was being built, right?
Right.
And most of the software was not that needle moving. It was definitely an improvement compared to
Yeah.
what's happening in very traditional industries. But like when I had first graduated out of college, fintech was all the rage, right?
Right.
And if you know anything about fintech, it's mostly fin and very little tech. So I felt annoyed that this was happening. And then over time, I felt like, hey, there's something really here. Like I felt
Mhm.
truly aligned with all the movement that was happening because in terms of my points to that moment a lot of the tools and scoping that I was covering prior even to my time at TikTok was around workflow automation,
Mm.
right? So if anything, GPT is an accelerant of enabling better ideas, right? Better prompting and giving the tools for people to do data synthesis and better insights. So I thought, hey, there is something here to be done. And that's how the intuition, I was able to marry both the, sort of like big wave that was coming and match it to the personal problems that we were facing.
Right, because now we have this huge wave of technology change that's happening because of AI, and you're part of that with your company. So I'll just put you on the spot. What do you think is next for AI, especially in the ad space?
So I think a lot of people are trying to crack video, but I think video is not there yet. But
Mhm.
beauty with what's happening with AI is the word yet has a very short live or short half life, right?
Yeah.
So I think the thing that is to come is that the models will get smarter. For example, Meta is working on this thing called Vijepa, where it's trying to understand and see the world like a human does, so that it can understand video. I think video ads have been used in an interesting way where they've been designed to pattern break. So you get very kind of like outrageous scenes happening where you clearly know that is AI and it works, right? So I think in terms of what's to come is that we will get end-to-end creation of video ads. But in terms of just the adoption, I think it's still very, very early. Right now, we see that, for example, there is this beautiful story of a dentist in Los Angeles where he built a video creative of two, like, I think it was like an ape or a gorilla with very,
Mhm.
very clean teeth, like spotless, like shining white teeth, like as if he just came out of the dentist. And he was going around just raging about how awesome his teeth is and just making funny jokes. And that dental clinic is booked out for the rest of the year, right? And so this is the power with AI and ads is that finally even the small business owners are able to
Mhm.
get access to CGI level studios that used to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to generate.
Right. So it really democratizes or levels the playing field. Of course, there
Yeah.
are typical complications to this because of the training data and replacement of human creatives. And I know that just today, Anthropic settled with a lot of people whose data was ingested. So do you see that kind of ethical landscape sorting out in the near future?
Can you be a little bit more specific in terms of what lens? Because the ethics and the AI is, that's a very, very big topic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a very fraught problem and it's wide open. I was just curious if any of those ethical or moral considerations go into how you're using AI or what kind of cautions you've taken to make sure that your clients and customers are protected against some of maybe that backlash.
Yeah, first of all, we're not the model layer,
Hmm.
right? The model layer are the ones that are doing going through the copyright infringement, like you said, Anthropic, right? We're not in that business. We're in the business of helping companies generate more revenue by streamlining their ad workflow. And so,
Right. That's focus.
yeah, that's our focus. So I think these two are very, very different things.
Right. So you're really focused on getting that 25% reduction in CAC and that 40% better uplift. So you're really focused on that performance for your clients. You aren't the model layer, you aren't the other layers. You're helping your clients' work and your clients' business propositions to be seen by more people and for people to take action on those, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Great. So, what's next for your company as you continue to grow? You said, you were pulling in revenue on day one. And so, well, once you pivoted, once you got to the next level, you were starting to pull in revenue, you're becoming profitable. Where are you going to grow next? Are you going to be the next Google or what's your plan?
I think it would be nice to be Google. I think they've built probably the best business in the modern internet era.
Hmm.
I think we are really focused on helping our customers come up with true insights in terms
Hmm.
of their business, such that in terms of their messaging and their marketing, they can reach the audience that most identify with their brands. And so today, that looks like the advertising is our wedge, but really from 10 years from now, I think what I want to do is keep an extremely open mind to see how ultimately we can evolve such that we can serve that very value proposition that I described. So, it's natural in a startup's journey to enter with a specific point, right? And then expand out. So I think just like Google started out as a search company, but now also is an advertising company, also helps to create self-driving cars, right? So I think for us, just like I think there is that ambition to build a generational company that is able to encompass more than the initial starting point.
Fantastic. So, just as our final wrap up question, Ray, we always ask the question, what do you dare to dream? And in a way, you kind of answered that question, but I'll ask it this way too. What do you dare to dream, either for yourself or for your company?
I have a very simple and basic dream, an approachable dream. I think one of my mentors, laughed and told, I asked him, "Hey, what is your dream?" I asked one of my mentors once, "Hey, what is your dream?" And he's like, "I don't believe in dreams. Dreams, the beauty with dreams. I mean, the thing with dreams is that they don't get realized. I believe in vision, right? And I think the nuance there is that with vision, it's a lot more in the weeds and the practicality of the execution of it. And I think my vision for our company is that, hey, we just want to be able to absorb and bring the smartest people working on a real problem, right? And to continuously run that virtuous cycle to get more people to love the product that we build, right? I think one thing that Google got right in their early days is that the first 150 people that used or worked at Google were very fanatic. They were their own customers, right? And so I think in that sense, that's the only thing that we can truly dictate and control. And so that's my dream is to build a very strong culture of smart people that are kind, very collaborative, and want to be like one of the pioneers in this space.
Great. Well, thanks for your time, Ray. This has been really great to chat with you. You can find out more by going to tryatria.com and check out the future of creative intelligence, the company that's revolutionizing marketing with the world's first AI creative strategist. So thanks so much, Ray.
Thanks, Ned. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks to our guests today for their insights into the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We wish you all the best in your startup journey. The Dare Show is brought to you by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network and by Darwaf, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. Visit us at oen.org or at darwaf.io. Thanks again for listening. Till next time.